Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent stamping up demonstrator. Here today is a fun fold for you, and it is called a spanner card. I believe it gets its name from this piece that you span across the front of your card, and then you have this fun little opening here. So simple to do. I'm going to be using the Peaceful Cabin bundle that's in the July through December 2021 Stampin' Up! Mini catalog, also known to us as the holiday catalog still. But we're going to be using this Peaceful Cabin and the cabin dies. These cabin dies are so cool. I have them laying out all over my desk because I'm in a frenzy. And you can cut out these pine trees, these evergreen trees that you can stamp, cut them out. You can also fussy cut real roughly around the edges and you have trees that are cut out. You also have this cool die that creates a die cut around your log cabin that you stamp, but there's also this cool log cabin that you can die cut and then just put this die right around it, and then you're going to have a two-tone cardstock color coming through that die. We're going to be using this die on here, but there's so many different dies here. You can also use these dies with these pretty trees here that are die cut. You've got a cute little fence post, a little fox, and even this landscape die here, you can stamp your little fox and you can create a landscape with a little fox popping up on it. So, but you can also cut out the little fox by himself. So this is a really cool set. You're going to be seeing a lot of fun things you probably already have with this Peaceful Cabin bundle. So let's get started on what we're going to do to make the actual spanner card. Super simple. We are using a paper that's in the annual catalog called Beauty of the Earth. Now, the Beauty of the Earth had these beautiful, bright trees and foliage in it. So you literally could use every pattern in the Beauty of the Earth on the spanner card with this log cabin because it just goes beautifully. I'm using this muted blues and Mary Merlot and a little cinnamon. And so you could also use this one. Think about just putting that behind the trees. Look how pretty. You could actually put this set of trees back there as well. You could just put a clear, beautiful skyline behind there, which you're going to see this week. I'm putting something up with that. You could also use these blue wintry trees, and you could change up and make this white stamped in blue. Oh my gosh, every single one of these patterns, even this one here on the back of this one with the autumn colors, you could put this back there. So almost every paper, actually I'd say every paper. Now the one pattern that I am using, you'll notice when it comes in 12 by 12 that there's a white space right in the middle. So when you go to cut it, cut the edges this way 4 inches and this way 4 inches, and then you'll have this leftover piece here that even if you're not sure about using this muted piece, look at the back of it. It's got squiggles of like pine trees. So this is a great piece to use too. So what we're going to do is look at the actual, how easy it is to cut this. So, and then I'm going to show you how we're going to cut that designer paper here. I have all kinds of things laying here and I don't want to disrupt anything. So what you're going to do is take a piece of, and what I'm going to do on this card is, you see on this one, I use Misty Moonlight because of the blue in the designer paper, and then I use soft suede down here. But on this card, I am actually, I'm a little, sorry about that. I was having a little trouble getting my camera straight, so just concentrate on the card. So I decided to change it up a little and use some Misty Moonlight as my card base. So what we're going to do is take a 8.5 by 5.5, and we're going to score it at 4 1/4, halfway on the 8.5 inch side by 5.5. Then we're going to put this into our trimmer, and all we're going to do is cut up 1 inch on each side. Pick either side, but on the same side 1 inch in from the what would we say, the 8.5 inch side. We're going to cut in 1 inch. So what we're going to do is just set our I'm going to go on the right side of our cutting blade to 1 inch. I'm going to use my cutting blade and I'm going to set it at 4 1/4. Now our trimmer has these little notches here, these little that you can just literally look at 4 1/4 and then drop it down, and I'm going to go up Now I'm actually going to cut 1 inch on the left side of the trimmer. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to 4 1/4, which is a little hard to do when you're making a video. And I'm going to go up an inch, up to there. So you can see I have the 1 inch panels up to the score line where I did the 4.5 inch score line. And then I'm just going to fold these down. And I'm going to go ahead and use my bone folder to get them all straight here. Because once they're cut, get this one here straight, get this one put back in place. Okay, there we go. And get this one lined up there. So now we have our score on that fold line. We have the card cut. See how simple that was? Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is just build up our card. Okay, now we need 2 strips that are gonna go here and the piece that's gonna go in the inside. Now when we took these 1 inch cuts here, we went from what? 5.5 to 4.5 to 3.5. So this inner section is 3.5. So we're gonna need a designer series paper that's 3 1/4 by 4. Now all these measurements will be on my blog, so you do not have to worry about doing that. You can also look down on the YouTube description. Right at the end of the description, it says visit my blog here. Just press that link. It takes you right over to cindyleeBdesigns.com and you are set. So take a look at your designer series paper. Like I said, I cut it at 4 inches. This was 12. And so I'm going to cut it so that I have my 3/4 of an inch, 3 1/4, and another 3/4 because I want a little border around these 1 inch things. So I'm gonna have 1 inch sections. So it's gonna be 3 1/4, 3 1/4. And since this is 3.5, we're gonna go 3 1/4. I just feel like my camera is off here. Okay, so we're gonna pull out our designer series paper and we are going to cut it, like I said, in the order that it's going to be shown. Make sure your trees are going the right direction. And so I'm going to go at 3 1/4, 3 1/4. Oh, it slid on me there. I think it's straight though. Then we're gonna go to 3 1/4 and then 3/4. And again, don't worry about writing down the measurements. And I'm not tech savvy enough to put them on the video while you're watching it. So you do have to look below the video or over to my blog to find the measurements. Sorry about that, kids. Okay, so here we go. And oh, and then we're gonna also cut 2 3/4 to go on the inside. I almost forgot that. So these will go on the inside of the card. And 3/4 again. And while we're at it, the one measurement on the inside of our card is, so I did 3/4 and 3/4, but this part here is 3.5. Okay, so 3/4 and 3/4. We're gonna put those 2 aside up here. Now we're gonna save that piece of designer series paper. Okay, so now we have the card here. So we're just gonna put our pieces of, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and put our, okay, it fell on the floor. And we're gonna put these onto our panels. See how simple that is? Okay, we're going to put some Stampin' Seal on here. I'm just going to turn this, so, and I'm actually going to open up. I'm going to know exactly how this card goes, but I'm going to open it up so I can just see the actual rectangle that I'm working with, so I can get the same amount of, let's see, I went off just a little bit. So I'm going to pull that up a little bit. Okay, so there we go. And we've got our blue there. Then we're gonna put on this one, once again, making sure that our trees are going in the right direction. Put some Stampin' Seal on there, or your adhesive there. I'm gonna open this up again and give myself a better look at, I'm kind of keeping my eye looking across there. And we've got that piece on, and now we're going to put this piece on in the middle. See how simple that is? So we're gonna just put some adhesive on here. Come on, cooperate. I know that you're still in there. Don't hide from me. Some people have a really good knack for using that. And my hat's off. And oh, you know what? I'm gonna pop one of these out just so I can see where that line is. And just try to get your best. Oh, let's see. I know these are the same size. So I am not going to worry that it's off a tiny bit on the bottom because I'm gonna span that bottom. So it's not gonna matter. What's gonna matter is I have these top. Okay, so that, so easy, wasn't it? Let's go ahead and stick these pieces in too while we're at it. Then we are going to lose them. Okay, get the same amount on each side. Some adhesive here. And get the same amount there. So we've got that part done. Okay, so now we're gonna take a look at how simple it is to do our, here's our card, to do our cabin here. Now, as you can see, there's a, I kind of like the Misty Moonlight as the card base here because it's gonna have a nice contrast with the soft suede. So what we're gonna do is I took a 3 1/4 inch, no, 2 3/4, depending on how high you want this to be. I really didn't need any space down here. I put my sentiment up at the top. So I just went ahead and just did 2 3/4 by 5 1/2, which is the span of the card. So I'm using Early Espresso because you can see some of the Early Espresso in the foliage here. So we're gonna use Early Espresso and we're just gonna ink up that lovely cabin. Ink up that cabin. And then we are going to just stamp it on our soft suede. Hold it there a moment to get a good, and I'm going to close up this ink pad so that I do not get it on anything. Now, we now have our cabin on here. Now, I went to use my die, and when I went to use my die, I cut it off a little bit. So that little trick that I do about putting a piece of die cut over there, and then I know exactly that it's in place. So you can just do that. Put a little bit of adhesive because this is going to be the cutoff part. And then you just take a die cut that you've made from that die. And as you can see, I can see exactly where the image is. And then you just go over to your Big Shot or your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. If you have one of those new things, you just put that on there, run it through, and by the magic of video, it's already done. Haha! As you can see, I went ahead and stamped, which I'm going to do on this one. Here, I'll show you so that we won't say I didn't stamp here. I'm going to stamp this cute little post here. And I kind of played around with the post, and I kind of thought if I was going up to a cabin that you would have to drive in through there. So we're just going to put a fence post there and a fence post here, and you're going to kind of come in to go into the carport there. We had a camp once that this really totally reminds me of the camp we had that had a carport on each side. So you just kind of skizzle on there. All right, so you have now got your log cabin, and I have to say I do like it better with the Misty Moonlight, so I'm glad I thought of that. So now all we're gonna have to do is put some adhesive down on the bottom of this the card on those two 1-inch sections, because we're just going to span this, and I'm actually going to open it up so that I can tell exactly where the edge is. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to make that soft suede cabin die span across. And see, it doesn't have any adherence on this part, so that's what makes it really cool when it's sitting out, which is kind of hard for you to see, but you can see that it's open there. And then you just simply put a sentiment on there. And with this one, I went ahead and brought the brown of the soft suede up here to contrast with the misty moonlight. So we are just going to, I stamped in misty moonlight. Do you know what? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Do you think I should have had misty moonlight up there? No, because I have the misty moonlight in there. Okay, so remember, you're going to put your dimensional on this panel here, because if you put it on here, you can't open it. It's not going to, well, actually it could. You could put it on this side, and then it just opens. Hey, let's try that. No, let's just leave it there. Okay, so we're gonna put our sentiment here, off to the side. There you go, and you can see then that stays. Oh no, that's why I didn't want to put on there, because then it would be under and you can't sit it there. Do you know what? I don't like that. I'm using the double oval punch, and I think I'm going to punch out some misty moonlight. And I do have a piece up here. Where is it? Here it is. As you can see, I had a mess up there, so I'll just go ahead and use this as my punching here. I kind of don't like that brown. It just looks a little too drab up there. So I'm going to take and pull that off there. And then I'm just going to take off our sentiment here and put it onto the misty moonlight. I think it just brightens up the top of the card a little better than maybe put a little bit of dimensional there. And then we'll just put it off to this side here. Make sure it's a little straight. Yeah, I think I like more blue there. It's just more calming, I guess you would say. So there is how simple that is. Now, the little trick with the one I did on the panel I did on the inside is, this is 3.5, because you don't, if you do it 3 1/4, you're gonna have too big of a space here, so you're gonna do this here. But you also don't wanna end up putting it and then having white show. So my little trick for that was to put some adhesive, take the lid off, Cindy, put some adhesive onto your, and get the, it's going to be the same measurement as that panel. So line it up on that panel with your space here the same, then close your card on there, and then bring it back down, and then you have that nice equal border around here. And I went ahead and stamped on here, wishing you the best, wishing you the best. So when you say for you on the outside of the card, that could be for you as a get well, for you as a wedding card, congratulations, a birthday, wishing you the best, wishing you the best. So there we go, a spanner card. So I did soft suede on this one, but I changed it up a little and put some of the misty moonlight with the soft suede there, because I didn't want to make a blue cabin, but you know, in stamping we can make blue cabins. So that is called a spanner card, and it's a fun one you can make with all of the patterns that are in, where's that paper? Oh, here we go. All of the patterns that are in the Beauty of the Earth. I really love these pines here, this water wash pine, but all these different, you could even use this one if you want. But so many beautiful patterns in Beauty of the Earth. and it just pairs so well with that peaceful cabin using the cabin dies. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com, or you can call me or text me at 724-323-2296. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.